Magic, mystery, the occult. Today's episode is going to be both sexy and fun and just a little bit mysterious. A lot of you have been writing in asking about sex magic and how to manifest anything you desire. So we're going to answer your questions today, and we're going to dive deep into some mystical secrets. You ready?
Welcome to a new paradigm, a new way of being, free from shame, self-limitation, or cultural programming. Welcome to a new you, a new world full of endless possibilities. Welcome to your Tantric awakening.
Welcome to the Tantric Awakening podcast. My name is Andre Knight.
And I'm Kendall.
And today we're going to talk about some of our favorite subjects, including sex, magic, and manifestation. And we're going to break down for you how you can manifest anything you desire. And I guess a good place to start is manifestation itself. Manifestation is the concept of taking something out of your mind and creating it in your reality. Though I'm not even sure creating is the right word, maybe attracting, because you see that thing you desire or that situation, that person you desire already exists. It's more a matter of magnetizing, attracting it to you. And while the idea may sound far-fetched, just consider for a moment. Everything you see around you, technology, cities, books, movies, everything started as a concept in somebody's mind. And to understand how this works, first you have to understand the nature of the universe. E equals mc squared tells us that matter is nothing more than condensed energy. And what tells that energy what form to take as it condenses is thought, is intention. Our intention, you see. But I want to give you a word of warning before we begin, because notice I said anything you desire. I didn't say manifest what you want. And this is probably, if you've tried manifestation techniques in the past, what might have stood in your way. Because you see, want, if you look it up in the dictionary, to want something means to not have it. So by constantly focusing on what you want, you might inadvertently be actually focusing on the not having of something and giving your energy to that. And wherever your attention goes, that's where energy flows. So careful giving attention to the not having. We're going to show you what to do instead. So stay tuned. Kendall, I guess let's begin with how did you become aware of some of these concepts, or what was your first introduction to them?
Yeah. Well, I would definitely say in this relationship, it's been birthed for me in understanding that there's something really powerful to sexual energy. There's something really moving that can catalyze an individual and catalyze a couple, catalyze a group into, you know, their visions, their dreams. And I would say personally, my journey into sex magic is definitely because of you and because of what you guided me into, you know, from being able to explore, for example, MDMA and how that altered not only my brain chemistry, but helped me access more energy in my body. Not only from that, but also understanding that when you do come together with another person, like you do feel their energy and you can definitely create that. So yeah, there's a long just reflection on that, you know, question in general of like, where did sex magic begin? Because I continually discover it, and I honestly knew the first time I had an orgasm, which was, I think it was my 2014. Yeah, it was the year before I graduated college, believe it or not. And I had my first conscious orgasm. When I had my first conscious orgasm is truly when I recognized there was power inside of my body. And so, yeah, that's definitely the first time as far as it becoming something where I can manifest. That didn't become more conscious until meeting the magician that is you. Yeah.
Well, coming from a witch like you, thank you.
Yeah.
It's your sexual energy is creative energy, you guys. I mean, you can create a child with it.
Yeah.
So creation is built in.
Right.
The sacral chakra is the energy of creation. But the thing is, that's not the only thing you can create. You can use that energy literally for whatever you want. And while it is indeed powerful with two people or more, you can do a lot of these techniques by yourself as well. A partner is not necessarily required. You can activate and harness your own sexual energy as well. But before we get into that, we should break down some of the basics first of manifestation itself, how it works, and then we'll add the sexual component to it. The basic concept in magic that you have to understand is sleight of mind. This is a term that comes from Aleister Crowley. And what he basically said was whatever tools you use, because you might be wondering what magical tradition, what we're going to share with you, comes from. And I would say all of them, really. I learned some of these secrets when I was a member of the Templar Order. I came across some of them when I was studying witchcraft. I came across some of them in Egyptian texts, Tibetan texts. And the thing is, they all agree, more or less. Some of the terminology varies, but a lot of these concepts are prevalent through many traditions. And this is where sleight of mind comes in. Because Aleister Crowley said whatever tools you use, be it incantations, be it sigils, the costumes you wear, the location you pick, all of these magical tools are for the magician. They don't necessarily make the spell more effective. They convince the magician that you have done something. And that's the key. Intention and emotion coming into alignment. Because once the magician believes what they did is effective, it becomes effective, you see. So you're performing the magic in a way on yourself. So what tools should you use? What incantations should you use? What tradition? Whatever resonates for you. Whatever activates you and gets your energy working, that's the correct tool. Ultimately, the trick is to convince your mind that you're effective, and then the working becomes effective. So that's sleight of mind, activating the magician.
Yeah. I love that you bring this up because that just it brought up so many memories for me. And when I was a little girl, because I'm a millennial, I grew up watching this film called Halloween Town on Disney Channel. And I know so many of you who are probably millennials who watch this movie understand, but there's a main character, Marnie, and she literally is on the journey of remembering who she is and her power and her ancestry of being a witch. And there's this moment because she's the eldest and she has a sister and she has a brother. And there's this one scene at the end where literally it's, they're the Cromwells, right? They're called the Cromwell family in the witches. There's like the grandma, there's the mom, and then there's Marnie, and then the little sister. And then Marnie is looking at her brother because they're literally joining forces, like holding hands, and you could see the energy. Like Disney ended up showing the energy between them because they're like doing like incantation, and this guy is the person that they're doing the spell over to, like, light over darkness. He's holding this light and it's like twisting in his arms, but Marnie looks at her brother and she's like, Dylan, I think she says something along the lines of, you gotta believe. And the whole premise of that was for him to believe that he could be magical.
Mm-hmm.
And why it resonates is because what you just said, because that is so true. It clicked in me where magician or magic first started for me, I would say. Before the sex magic, because, you know, my religious programming was all about abstinence around sex. So the magic part was already being nurtured, but the sex and then the magic, that came later.
Well, that's why I was saying you have to understand the basic principles of magic and manifestation before we add the sexual component.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Would you say there's like an innocence to that too? Like,
oddly enough, yeah. I mean, even though we're
magician?
talking about mature topics, magic and sex, yeah, there has to be an innocence. There has to be a playfulness to it. If you take magic too seriously, something's going to go wrong. There's got to be an element of curiosity, an element of playfulness. That's what the universe likes. That's what the universe responds to.
Right.
You know, absolutely. So this idea of sleight of mind, I like how you put it. You got to believe. And this is how you get around this wanting paradox. You cannot create something you want because you are creating the not having of it. So the sleight of mind has to be more the feeling of having it already. You see?
Yeah.
And one of my favorite magical tools, it's pretty simple. You'll laugh when you hear how simple it is a vision board. You know, we created a vision board today for our upcoming retreat.
Yeah.
So you felt the power of it as we were making it. It was very much a magical spell. You gather all your ingredients, your clippings, your glitter, your stickers. You know, you gather the ingredients and then you start putting them together. You start arranging them. It's very much like putting together a spell, no different than putting together a potion. Here's the thing, though. It's not the images. Some people will teach you to make a vision board. Some people will teach you to write down your intentions. I want you to understand it's not the words and it's not even the pictures. It's what you feel when you read the words or when you see the pictures, because the universe could care less about your wishes. The universe could care less about words. It could care less about pictures. The language the universe understands is emotion. Remember, when intention and emotion combine, that's the formula, right? So your pictures, your words should evoke an emotion. And if you read your manifestations and they don't make you feel something, you got to dream bigger. You got to dream bigger. And I have a tip here. I call it going one past. Okay? And this is a good way to evoke emotion if you're not feeling it. So say, for example, you know, you want some money. All right, that's a common wish. People want more money. What are you going to do with that money? How is that going to make you feel? Well, I want to buy a house. Okay. What would you do in that house? Would you start a family? Would you have kids? Would you invite your parents to visit? Would you invite your friends to visit? Would you throw a party? Would you start a business with a home business, maybe with the extra room? What would you do? You want the money to buy the house. You want the house to do something in the house. How does that make you feel? You see, you keep going one past, till you finally get to something that evokes an emotion.
Yeah.
And that's what you're after, the emotion. So if your vision board doesn't evoke emotion, consider adding some things. You don't have to throw it away and start over. That's the cool thing about collages. You can keep layering and layering. But you got to feel something when you look at it. That's the most important part, because the feeling is what you're trying to evoke.
Yeah.
Can you think of some times maybe when manifestation worked really well, maybe almost like instantaneously, and times when it didn't work? And maybe was that the difference? Was that the missing ingredient?
Yeah, for me personally, yes, because I'm a very emotional being and I'm very deeply rooted in that. And so I definitely lean into whenever there's an emotional charge around something to lean into that, because I'm very attuned and aware of the range of emotions of the human experience. And I have had those moments of like, oh my gosh, this is my soul talking right now. This is my soul moving me to the depth. And I've had moments where my manifestation was so on point and the emotion that was evoked was just like gratitude, and it was just like usually with tears, just so much overwhelm. But yeah, it depends on the experience.
Tears, you see,
Yeah.
overwhelm.
Yeah.
See the words you're using? Yeah.
Yeah.
When the emotion is the most intense, those are powerful moments of manifestation.
And also for me, it's always been me envisioning myself in that space and believing it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I could think about the manifestation of when I created my first short film. I had the vision, and I've had this multiple times, even the retreat that we're creating right now. Whenever I've had the vision, it drops and it just clicks. Like the idea, all these moments move together to show me something. And it's like a visualization, like inside of me. It's like the universe, like, here's what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I whenever I've had these moments, I get lit up, I get excited, and somehow I just start taking action and moving forward. Like when I got the vision for my short film, I just went forward in the direction that could create that reality, and I did. And that was like, wow, I felt it. And here's the thing, I didn't just feel it for myself. I realized that I was feeling it for the people that I would actually be touching along the way.
See,
and
that's going one past.
And that's what I have learned about like manifestation, or just how even sex magic in our relationship has manifested in certain experiences. Is it wasn't even necessarily about the vision I thought. It's about the people I met along the way. It's about the mystery of like not knowing all the details, but realizing on the other side of my like, yes, like other things started to manifest too. So yeah, it's permission. When I think of sex magic, when I think about magic and energy moving, it's your bodies and your mind and your heart coherence are working together to give you permission to like, go for it. It's like that inner voice of like, yeah, like you got the vision, lean into it. And yeah, I just believe in those moments where you receive those visions and to lean into it.
Well, you could even say we manifested each other using sex magic.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know I was sex magicking to meet you. I was just so deeply in touch with my sexual energy. And I did script. I did write on a piece of paper. But more than anything, it's just like I knew I was ready for something more. Mm. And that's what kind of just led me into the trajectory of where I'm at now, because I was in the middle of experiencing my Saturn return, which is usually a very intense initiation for most people. And so, yeah, I mean, I just surrendered, and but I was very sexually charged and very, very confident. And it's I've evolved a lot since then. But yeah, yeah, I think also too my guides, my aunts, like definitely guides helping me out to figure this out.
Well, this is something you can also use
trust.
sex magic for if you've been trying to get in touch with your spirit guides, to call them in. Absolutely. These techniques will work for that. So vision board, one of the tools, and realize, particularly if you're going to be doing sex magic with a partner, like you don't want to be like, hold on just a minute, let me get my list and let's recite it. That's why you want to prepare a lot of these tools ahead of time, like your vision board. So in the moment, you can just look over at it and evoke the feeling. Mm-hmm. You want to spend time cultivating that feeling, just meditating with your vision board, meditating with your list, if it's a written list, and evoking the emotions. So when you're doing it in ceremony, when you're doing it in ritual, you can evoke it, on cue when you need it. That's why preparation is very important.
Absolutely. And another thing I want to bring up in light of sex magic, it's really interesting. Do you feel like sex magic is about the person you become along the way.
Oh, 100%.
Because this is where
100%.
what I feel. It's deeper than like, oh, like two people coming together or yourself, just self-pleasuring. It's so much deeper. I'm curious your thoughts.
Well, this is really the fascination with it. Absolutely. It's the journey, not just the destination.
Yeah.
With practice, things will start showing up for you pretty quickly. I know we've had a few times, when we wanted extra money for a trip.
Yeah.
Like suddenly, boom, an extra client comes along or an unexpected income comes along, and it's within a few dollars exactly the amount we were visualizing. Things like that, or a connection comes in to open exactly the door you needed. And there's like things that are so specific that you cannot dismiss it as coincidence.
Yeah.
And that process can, with practice, become almost instantaneous. But you said it. First, you got to prepare the magician, right? Like anything else, you've got to be able to, you develop the conduit. You have to be able to conduct that energy, right?
I'm so glad you're bringing this up. And I'd love to like hear more and for you to like the becoming the energy conductor of energy.
Well, let's
speak
talk
into
about
that?
that. Yeah, I'll give you guys some exercises that you can practice to develop these skills. And before I forget, by the way, check the description down below. Join our mailing list, you guys, because obviously this is a big topic, a deep topic. There's so much to it that it's hard to cover in just one podcast episode. But we're putting together a course that'll take you through pretty deep, the process of sex magic. And if you want to find out more about it when we announce it, join the mailing list. The link is in the description down below, as well as other exciting stuff we have coming up, our retreat and so many other things. Plug in, you guys, stay in the loop. I just wanted to mention that because I'm going to get excited as we go along and I don't want to forget. But all the info you need is in the description for this episode. So some ways that you can develop yourself as a conduit. First of all, I'm a big fan of starting the morning with a brief meditation and some chanting. We've talked about it on the show before, the foundations of Tantra are breath, sound, and movement. I urge you guys, don't reach for your phone first thing in the morning, okay? In fact, if you're able to, sleep with it in airplane mode. Because the first thing is giving your mind rest without all that extra EMF energy. There's several transmitters in your phone, right? There's the cellular signal, there's the Bluetooth, there's the Wi-Fi, there's the GPS. Like, just put it in airplane mode, or if you have teenage kids and you can't, just shut off everything except the cellular. You can leave that one on, but like, give your nervous system a rest at night. That's the first and the most simple step. But then in the morning, before you take it off airplane mode, before all of the messages, notifications, and things that are going to distract you off your path start flooding in, take the first few moments of every day, just you and you. Single best thing you can do to strengthen your intention, right, is to start your morning with you. And what I like to do, what I recommend you do as you're meditating, start by taking a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, just let a sound come out. Why that sound? Well, this is actually the sound of creation. Genesis says the world was created with a sound. It's not far off, actually. I want to give you a few words, and you guys see if you can guess what they all have in common. Buddha, Krishna, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, Wakan Tanka. I could go on and on. Almost every culture in existence, their word for the divine, even the word God, has the ah sound in it. Every word for the creator has the sound of creation within it. And talking about mixing in sexual energy, what do most people say as they approach orgasm? They're either saying, oh God, oh God, oh God, or they're saying, ah, 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 right? You naturally make that sound. Okay? This is the sound of creation. So
Yeah.
I encourage you to start your morning visualizing what you want, right? But remember, it's not the picture, it's the feeling you're evoking. Feeling that feeling and just doing, couple minutes of chanting. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Start the day with you and your intention. Then let the world in. And you're going to see it's going to be a totally different you that faces those things. It's going to be a totally different you that chooses how you respond to those things, how you prioritize your day, and so forth. If you do this in the morning, your day will go different. I guarantee it. If you do it a few mornings in a row, your week will go different. Your month will go different. And little by little, your life will begin to shift. So that's step one, very simple. How you go to bed at night, put your phone in airplane mode, but then how you start your day with intention. And I recommend too, like you've got your long-term goals, go backwards to the day ahead. If you have an important meeting coming up, a presentation, imagine giving it perfectly and everybody in the audience clapping and being happy with your presentation. If you've got a deal coming up, imagine shaking hands and making that sale, making that deal. If you're giving a talk at school, imagine people loving that talk. Or if you're giving a performance, the audience loving that performance after you did it perfectly. Start with your long-term goals and finish with the day ahead and just live it perfectly. And then get out of bed and start your day. So that's your first practice in setting intentions and following them through with them. This is building your manifestation muscle. This will come in handy later. This will become important later. But just start your day with intention. That's step one. You've tried this a few times. I know. I remember one of the things you were telling me even this morning, you said like you felt different. I remember you saying you felt different and it was almost like a drug. I remember maybe that wasn't this morning, but you were saying like wow, like, ooh, I didn't know you could feel like this without something. Like it literally shifts your reality, doesn't it? Just vibration.
Yeah. Well, it's also what's really important for me to express is that it's about the body awareness as well. And I just woke up really feeling my heart chakra, and I've been really feeling like there is a purge going on in my heart. There's like a cleansing energy that's happening. And so I just naturally just started, I do that often. It's like a practice, not even just in the morning, but I tone all the time. I'll sing all the time, especially if I'm aware that like my heart chakra, for example, is needing to express itself, or my throat chakra is wanting to unblock itself because it absorbs so much from the universe. Like, yeah, I think it's important to use toning or any vocal sound. And but yeah, to what you were mentioning that morning, it was just like attunement. I was aware. I was like, I'm receiving this intuitive hit to just use my voice to move energy. And naturally it can move in other ways as well, where it depends on the flow. I mean, anything and everything from dancing to walking to making love, like that's the power of knowing where you are in your body and how your body is, because yeah, just that it's a muscle. It's knowing what does your body need at any given time. I know for me that when I'm sitting down for too long, my body will let me know like it's time to get up. Or even today, my body is like, it's time to get outside. You need the sun. Like it's strong intuition. And I think that is truly the foundation of sex magic is like, do you trust yourself? Are you leaning into your body? Are you aware of these sensations? Are you aware of these tools, like you said?
Well, I'm really glad you brought the body into it, actually.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And intuition, too. The way to strengthen your intuition is to listen to it. It'll get stronger the more you follow your hunches.
Yeah.
The more you doubt your hunches, the weaker it gets, the more inconsistent it gets.
Yeah.
You literally strengthen your intuition by listening to it. It's that simple. But involving your body. So the next thing I like to do in my day, you mentioned it, go for a walk. Yeah. Walking is powerful intention setting time. You've joined me on some of these. What I like to do when I walk, first of all, in time with my steps, and I like to do a rapid kind of brisk walk. I like to move my arms with it too. So I take 4 breaths in and 4 breaths out in time with my steps. And what I do with both hands is I move my thumb in time with each finger. So it's that simple. As I'm swinging my hands in time with my steps, and I get my whole body kind of like in rhythm with itself. It's almost like a little dance. And I do that for 2 or 3 minutes till it's more or less automatic. Well, I don't have to think about it and coordinate it. And then I start to put intentions with it. Okay? Every day in every way, I'm getting fitter and fitter. Yeah. Every day in every way, I'm getting fitter and fitter. Yeah. And I say each one twice, and you can put in whatever, richer and richer. Yeah. Prettier and prettier. Yeah. You know, whatever you want to insert, just do 2 of each. So these are like my manifestation walks. I start with my manifestation chant. Sometime during the day, I do my manifestation walk. And you might be wondering, what about Om? You hear a lot of people chanting Om a lot, right? Om's very important too, not to be overlooked. It's an important component of this. Okay, notice that ah is an open sound, right? It's open to possibility. Om is a closed sound. So as the sound implies, I like to use Om in the evening. Om is the sound of gratitude. And gratitude is very important because remember, wanting is not having, right? So as I do my manifesting during the day, I go for my walk. When I'm working, I have my vision board in front of me, evoking emotion. I like to end my day in gratitude.
Yeah.
Because what is gratitude, you guys? It's the feeling of already having. Okay. And if you're in a public space, you're like, well, I'll feel silly doing ah in the morning and Om in the evening. You can also do it in your mind. You can imagine it to the point that you feel the room and your body vibrating. In case you're concerned about people overhearing, that's another variation. But if you can, out loud's always better. So ah in the morning, some point during the day, and then finish your day with gratitude, the feeling of already having. You can review the day that you had, you know, and even, oh, it was a rotten day. It was a horrible day. Yeah, but did you learn something? Is there something you can take away from it? You know, no matter where you are in life, there's something to be grateful for. Be grateful you have a roof and you're not sleeping outside. Or if you're sleeping outside, be grateful for the fresh air. You know, there's always something to be grateful for. And the more you express gratitude for the already having, the easier it becomes to magnetize things to you. Trust me, I know from experience. I used to skip this step. Everything started working much smoother when I included it. So these are the 3 components to developing the magician, developing your capacity to manifest, to put your will out there.
Given my background in dancing, I feel like a big part of the way that I've manifested, and not only just manifested, but really connected to my sexual energy, is making sure that it's moving, that I'm generating that energy. And I could speak because, you know, you and I are different in this, is like, you're a manifesting generator in the human design. I'm a generator. So you and I have different energy body types. I can speak as a generator. As a generator in the human design, I'm here to create energy. I am connected and I'm led by my sacral energy center. So why I'm saying this is the way that I operate and the way that I connect with my own sexual energy and my own life force is really how directly connected to how connected I am to my body or not. Am I numb? Am I in flight, fight, freeze, fawn mode? Am I regulated? Like, it's also the state of my nervous system. So when it comes to sexual energy and sex magic, I just allow for it to overflow me. Like, when I think about it, because there's so many layers to sex magic. But I will say, if I am not feeling connected to my nervous system, and I'm feeling numb and I'm feeling trauma in my body, I know that gets in the way of sex magic. And what I think about and what I would reflect on what sex magic is, it's the natural byproduct. I mean, yes, it's intention, but it's also the natural flow of life that happens when you are open in your creative energy. Because the times where I feel like, even in our relationship, where sex magic, we can attest to, oh, it's worked, is when those creative juices have been flowing. And so that's how I've been able to reflect on it. But it's hard to put my finger on one moment when I think about personal techniques, because it's multiple. It's breath. It's dancing. It's so much. It's
breath, sound, movement.
It's how you dress. I mean, it's
very good point.
It's textures. It's how you see life. Like, I go to, as a woman personally, of like how, a main thing I would say, am I creating the space for my turn on? Am I being held in that space? And what I mean by held is like self-holding, like no matter what. And this is really important when I think about sex magic. I think it's super important, especially nowadays more than ever. Like, people like for me with my Aquarius rising, like individuality is very important to me. So creating the space for such rituals is very important to me. Yes, you can do it with a partner. You can even do it in group experiences, which I have led. But it comes down to, what is your personal practice? Because if your personal practice is not being nourished on a week-to-week basis, even a day-to-day basis, whether you're investing into your creativity, you're creating collages, you're dancing, you're writing, like whatever you are doing is going to contribute to, when you do have sex, like the physical act, it will only be enhanced. But sexual energy at the core, sex magic at the core, is creative energy. And it's interesting because the most creative people are the most sexual people.
Very true.
And
that's been my observation.
It's very attuned. So the more that energy is flowing in you and you're just responding to the creative energy that is you are your own muse, your own inspiration, like the more it's going to manifest. Like it doesn't need to be hard, or is like that's how I see it. It's a flow.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, sometimes it could look like dancing more so as a buildup of sex magic, in the manifestation. Or for some people it's writing, for some people it's singing, it's doing all these sounds, but it is, I do agree, like bringing all the energies together, like breath, sound, movement. I think about even shamans, they there's a quote, I don't even know word by word, but it says, if you are experiencing something difficult, like when they ask the question, when have you stopped dancing? When have you stopped singing? When have you stopped gathering? Like, that's important, like asking yourself those things. Like, that's what I do. It's sex magic. It's interesting because I feel like it is very connected to self-mastery. Like, and I'll be honest too, I'm evolving and I'm growing. We are both doing that in our journey. But to me, it's like sex magic is not the destination. It's like I was mentioning, it's the journey of expanding your consciousness. And I could say that from even like before I ever met you and just like meeting you. Like, I feel like because of all the depth that we've gone into these exoteric topics and learning about Aleister Crowley, like going to the site where they used to like gather as a group, like all these little moments add up, and they've revealed to me that it really is about intention. It's really about recognizing as well, like not everyone is committed to sex magic. Not everyone is at an emotionally mature level to hold that level of magic. And it really requires a self-accountability and self-reflection and self-mastery in your pursuit of that.
100%.
And you know, that's, I mean, we're going deep now, but it's like, this is why there's covens. And this is why, like, even for me as a woman, as a magician with you, as a high priestess, like, I'm very, very, very picky about who's in my world. And I think it's definitely, you know, it's a powerful umbrella conversation to so many other topics.
I'm really,
you know what
I'm really glad you brought this up, and this is why I wanted to
Mhm.
start with cultivating the magician first
Yeah.
and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really glad you brought this up because we should talk a little bit about the ethics of magic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for example, a term you see tossed around a lot is black magic. What is black magic? I define it a little differently than most people
Mm-hmm.
do. You know,
Mhm.
some people say, well, it's magic that might do harm. Well, what if somebody's seeking to do you harm and you're seeking to protect yourself and others?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not quite the best definition. I would define black magic as something that interferes with the free will of another.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? By that definition, one of the what seems innocent that is actually a casting of black magic, love spells, if they are specifically directed at someone without their consent. Now, you can do a spell to bring in an ideal lover, sure, but that's very different than directing it at a specific person without their knowledge or consent. So careful here, as long as we're talking about magical ethics, never violate the free will of another. Because the thing about magic is what you cast at others tends to come back to you threefold. That's one of the universal principles of magic. So definitely be careful there. And I love what you said also, like your self-pleasure practice before you apply it. Like, sex magic itself is not the goal. If you do some of these practices we're talking about, sex will naturally be magical and your magic will naturally be sexy.
Yeah.
Like, sex magic itself is not a goal. It's a means to an end.
Yeah.
Right? When we talk about self-pleasure, do you just touch yourself for a few minutes to get it over with? Do you take time to really feel every part of your body and take time to love on yourself? Even better, maybe use a mirror, look at yourself naked in the mirror, appreciate yourself. Like little things like that. Linger. We're now starting to move into more like the sexual topic. And the first concept I want to introduce for you, linger. Take your time. Okay? With this, right? Don't rush the process. It's not a to-do to check off your list because you mentioned creativity, right? If it's a task, if it's a to-do,
Right.
the universe has a way of sensing how much effort you put into it. You definitely want to put an effort into it. It's like an herbal tea. It's like a meal. It's like anything else. When you put effort and intention into it, the result comes out better. Just like a work of art, just like making love to someone you love, put the effort in. Don't rush things along.
Yeah. And I would love to add to that I feel because of the times we're in, it's super easy to want to have that quick dopamine hit and quick gratification. And what I feel with like what this is all reminding me of, especially as an artist, as a choreographer, as someone who's worked with little children all the way to adults, like it's in the journey itself, it's in the process itself that is the magic itself. Because as a magician, as someone that's connected with worlds that are not presently like this world that we're just here, like it's about surrendering even the outcome. And so much of society, I feel like so much of my undoing and unlearning to become more magical and more aware of my magic and my past lives, especially as fairies, is like the point is not knowing where you're going or how your magic is influencing the collective. And I could think about the spells that I've literally been guided into by my guides by the present moment, and was able to hold such space for not only myself, but other people. And I'm talking 10 plus people is because of that alone time. And like what you just said, and I'll be honest in saying like a big part of my journey has been the journey of undoing and oscillating sometimes between wanting to sometimes just have like a quick experience with my body and myself, and also being reminded and humbly being reminded to just be like, what else can I bring to this that's deeper? Like, and I think that's so important. And I'm being reminded of that even as you were sharing. I was like, wow, like, yeah, like.
Well, I'm not knocking quickies. You know, there's a time and place for them too, and they're fun. But if your goal is to cultivate your magic,
that's what I'm trying to say.
You
like,
want to take your time.
It's like there's a range, there's a palette, just like the human emotions, right? And we've talked about this. It's like even for myself, like as someone that continues to nourish my own fantasies, and I'll share them with you. And we were talking about one the other day, and you're like, "Oh, does that actually happen?" I'm like, "Yeah, it actually does." And I think that energy is just so important for me personally, like seducing yourself to want to experience more of the human experience through holding space for others. And I think that's because of the initiations and experiences we've already had, but also the responsibility I feel, because I feel very lucky, you know, and I feel very, very, very lucky to see how far I've come in this space of just sex alone, but like sex magic is like, because I was so good girl, so Christian, so conservative, so thinking like sex is all about procreation. I mean, so many people in America, so many people were fed that narrative that sex is for procreation. And like, never was it talked about that sex could be just for magical experiences, or, you know, that was never ever taught to me. So this is why I think also as well, like,
how about for pleasure?
Yeah, just being able to have enjoy your body and enjoy it for pleasure's sake. And also it's just like, I know when like the moments that like unlocked for me is like, I remember like times even where we were talking, but I was sharing with you, I was like, I actually love being in the rooms where people are making love. Like, yeah, like, you know, these desires came online. And this is why I feel like if you are here and you're listening, you've come this far, like sex magic is a remembering journey. It's like, it calls to those that are curious. Like, they're not just, you want something more than just like maybe what you've been having. Like, you know, it's deeper, it's spiritual. I mean, I think about, there's a difference between like, well, I don't know. I've heard this phrase, like this is going around for so many people. Like there's a difference between having sex, and then there's a difference between that and making love. Like our intimacy has felt very spiritual. Like we've worked with, you know, MDMA as a lot. We've worked with so many beautiful medicines, and like it's powerful stuff. It's there's so many layers to it, and I've always been, and I think this is why you and I are together. It's just like, I am such a deep person. I'm so passionate about the psyche, about the human experience. I've always been passionate about expression as an artist, as a dancer, dancing since I was 3. I'm 32 now. Like, sex magic only felt like a next step. And I'm excited for where we're headed too, because as a high priestess with the magician, like those two like archetypes, pretty powerful. But like, I'm excited for what we're going to be able to create for others to be able to transform through. And I think that's the responsibility and the call. I feel like it's transformed me.
I'm excited as well. I'm very excited to share some of this with you guys. Again, look in the description down below for the link. Join our mailing list because you want to stay plugged in. There's exciting things coming.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring in now. Let's merge the two worlds, right? We've talked about manifestation. We've talked about basic principles of magic and how to prepare the magician.
Mm-hmm.
Let's now bring in the sexual component and kind of tie it all together for everybody.
Mm.
So in order to do that, I want to introduce you first to a concept known as edging, because this is going to be important.
Yeah.
I love edging. I really love edging. Edging essentially is getting as close as possible to orgasm, but not going over that ledge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a very common concept in Tantra, and a lot of people misunderstand Tantra. They assume the goal is not to have an orgasm. No, that's not it. It's not to hold off orgasm. It's to practice being right on that precipice. Okay, in the beginning, maybe when you feel yourself getting close to orgasm, you back off on the stimulation just a little bit. Okay, that's the practice in the beginning. Like, get used to assigning a number to it. This is how most people teach it. If 1 is not at all aroused, 2 is starting to get a little bit aroused, right? 9, you're going over the edge, and 10, you're having an orgasm. Learn to be where you're at. And when you're at 9.5, it's too late, especially if you're a beginner. Start to feel when you're at a 7 or an 8, and maybe back off to a 7 or a 6. And then work back up to a 7 or an 8, back off to a 7 or a 6, and practice developing that finesse of control. Okay? That's in the beginning. The more advanced practice is you don't back off. You take yourself to a 9, 9.5, and you practice holding it there as long as possible. This is edging. Okay? It's not denying yourself pleasure. It's quite the opposite. It's getting yourself to the most pleasurable part and holding yourself there as long as possible in that sweet bliss of edging. Okay? So this is edging, and it's important for sex magic because this is when the portal opens, is right in this moment. So first practice getting yourself and holding yourself into this state. And again, if you have to back off at first, that's okay. But when you can consistently hold yourself at an 8 or 9 without going over, this is when you glance over at your vision board. Or if it's not handy, when you remember what's on it, when you evoke that emotion, right in that moment. Remember, it's intention plus emotion, right? Intention and intensity coming together. That's where sex magic happens, right? So you prepare your temple, you light your candles, you light your incense, you play your favorite music, you create the environment, then you work on the magician, you get yourself to that state, and it's in that state that you introduce the emotion. You introduce the object of your desire and the emotion it creates for you. And that's when all the elements come together. And here's the key. The longer you can hold all of that together, the more powerful you're working before you let yourself go over the precipice, before you go over the edge. And when you do, because what is orgasm? Orgasm is a frequency vibrating through your body, an intense frequency vibrating through your body. So when that hits, that's when you let it go. That's when you set your intention free into the world. But first, you got to build up that charge and hold it as long as possible. That's how I would describe it, personally. And that's, from a male perspective in a male body. I'd love to hear if you would add anything, change anything for those that are female bodied, or what your experience of it is.
Yeah. I mean, edging is so multi-layered and multi-dimensional in the sense that it's not just in the physical act. I feel like it's a mentality. It's a way of life. It's a way of how you show up for yourself. But yeah, I mean, I've in the physical space where I have a very active imagination. So very active dream life, very active imagination. So when it comes to when I'm connecting to my body, and especially when that charge of emotion and energy is present, it reminds me a lot of my dancing, my background in dancing, or just moments where I've had cathartic releases with myself. So it's like in those moments of edging, or the energy that is so charged, what I've learned in those moments when, for example, dancing, or I'm in the car and I start weeping and I'm just so with the music and the lyrics, is I allow that energy to wash over me, and I extend that, and I extend that to whatever is, and it's not always conscious, because I think sometimes, edging, or when these cathartic moments comes, like maybe we can't think about all our vision or what we are is on our vision board. However, how I see it and how I have experiences, that I just trust that the energy itself, that the fact that I'm feeling so deeply, that the fact that I'm like having this moment with myself is enough. And like, it's like, I don't always feel like I need to know that this is specifically like going to something specific.
That's a great point.
Because sometimes my brain doesn't have the desire to do that. Sometimes I'm just sincerely so in the sensation. It's overwhelming for my brain to even be online to think about that.
Especially when you're in orgasm.
Yeah.
Right.
And but even after, like oftentimes, like after, I'll be in that glow and I'll be just so grateful. And so how I see it, it's teaching my body to appreciate whatever state it's in. So like an afterglow, I'm in gratitude. Like I can think about that imprint in that moment and extend that to moments when I need it the most. Or I can think about even so many experiences on MDMA where I experienced so much like relief from my heart chakra, especially when I started using it earlier on. There was just always this like, oh my gosh, like an imprint, like a remembrance of like, wow. So yeah, I feel like edging also for me has this connection to like embodiment, like awareness of the moment and what's actually being translated. Because edging to me is like, can be related to, like I was saying earlier, it's like, it's countercultural. I mean, it's counterintuitive, I think, because of that. Our culture has become so dopamine oriented, quick, fast hits. And I think this has probably evolved more, it's maybe more challenging for people to edge because of our times. I mean, I wonder if anyone's ever done a study on that, but I wonder if like the influence of phones and like more of that, like how connected we are, has impacted our desires to even want to edge, because edging takes time. And I'm saying this honestly because I have so much Capricorn in my chart that like we've even had conversations about this, but sometimes for me, it's about like, I'm all about trying to be as efficient as possible. I'm not always, it's interesting because my Venus is in Pisces. So I can be in the love, like, woo, like no boundaries place. But like, I dance with that personally of like, yeah, like boundlessness and also like structure and efficiency conversation. And I've been honest with you about that of like, that's what I work through and trying to explore my own eros. But yeah, edging. There's so much. There's so much to that, and it makes me want to like reflect on that more for myself, because that word was coming up earlier too, and I'm glad you mentioned it.
Well, that's why I'm saying like this is such a broad concept and topic. Like there's so many nuances to this, and we're barely scraping the surface. We're trying to make as complete an episode as possible and cover the basics, but I mean, you and I have both spent nearly a lifetime studying this topic. There's a lot to it, which is why we encourage you to join the mailing list. And don't let this be the end of your journey, just the beginning of it. Yeah. Because there is a lot to it. But this is why you brought up a really great point. If the vision board is within eyesight, great. A lot of times it's not. That's why I'm saying the power of your sex magic is the work you put in before the sex act. During the sex act, focus on your body, focus on the pleasure. That's your main task. The only thing you have to do as far as your intentions, if you think about it, is just to evoke the feeling. Your brain is on sex. Don't expect it to do a lot. You want your attention on that. The only thing you really have to evoke is the feeling. That's why the work you do, the magic, is the time you spend with your vision board or with your intentions ahead of time, evoking that feeling.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And it's like invoking and I would say even for the wombs in the room, like making sure that you are doing the de-armoring work, making sure that you're doing yoni egg de-armoring, making sure that you are not just, you aren't just getting off. You are, because I think a lot of women deal with this, or really, especially because we live in, very overtly, like there's a lot of toxic masculinity out there. Like, I think a lot of women have adopted like some of these toxic masculine kind of behaviors of like, and so I would just really encourage the womb holders in the room, just like really take time. And I'm reminding myself of this too. Like I go through my own ebb and flows, and I would just encourage you, like, take time to get to know your body. Like take time to just, even like the beautiful thing that I have been loving and just like claiming over and over again is like, there's so much beauty to non-sexual touch. Like you can actually touch your body and not make it about a goal, but just merely like touching yourself, like touching your breasts, like touching your skin, or allowing your lover or maybe a platonic friend to just love on you. Like these are the little energy pockets of experience and like relating that really help to create the magic that is like experienced through sex. And it makes me realize, even just talking with you, it makes me realize like sex is everything. It's everywhere. It's like what is beating at the bottom of everything that's existing. Like
It's
the other day I was in a garden. Yeah, I was in the garden the other day and I was looking at this plant. I was like, I've never seen this plant before ever. And I'm like, this is so erotic. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like earth, like there's so much erotic energy around me. And it's like, I felt like this plant was like showing me, like trying to like, I don't know, it was speaking to me. And this is where for me, that could be translated as like, well, was that part of sex magic? Like, absolutely. That plant inspired me. I remember when I learned about like, what's the term for it? When people are aroused by nature. There's a term for it. I can't think of it on the top of my head, but there's
ecosexual.
Yeah, exactly. And I have literally love it. And I'm very aroused by nature, I think, and I personally want to explore that deeper. But
plants are very sexual. I mean, if you think about what a flower is the sex organ of the plant, right? And whereas we humans like to hide our genitals, right? What do plants do? They have them out in the open for everybody to see.
There's two plants. I don't even know the plant, but I've seen a reel on it, and it's like has the innuendo of like erotic charge. But it's this plant that has like oil. It's like sticky oil, and like I don't even know the plant, but like I've seen the video of this man just like pulling up, and all the oil comes off, and I'm like, I've also seen like the plant that's coming to mind is aloe. When you open it up, and all that like juice, like all the aloe comes out. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. So it's like, it's all around if you allow it to feed you. And
it's hard to ignore, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. It's just, I love sexual energy. I was even thinking about this even with you, like reflecting of like, it's so interesting. Sometimes like the body, it's like I'll be communing with the body and I'm like, why isn't my body, or why am I yoni not like charging with energy? And I realize it's like, it's not about if the body or the yoni is not charged with energy. It's recognizing that it is charged. Like there's nothing you're not separate from nature. You are always communing. And it's like, I even think about the most potent times of sex magic, or, leading up to these moments of like manifestation. It's because I trusted those moments when my yoni was online. And I can think of the moments when we both were aroused, or our energy body and our bodies was like, yeah, let's consummate that, and let's have sex, and let's do some really sacred sex magic rituals, right? Like it's a matter of attunement to whatever is being presented, and not judging, because it's like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like sex magic's not like, you show up every Wednesday and every Friday at 7 p.m. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, for some people, like structured experiences like that are helpful. I get it because of life and scheduling, but it's also like, as a woman, I'm very attuned to my menstrual cycle, as you are very attuned to the menstrual cycle with me. I know the days, the moments when I get it, like my body's charging up, and it's like I communicate with you, and that to me is the beautiful dance of sex, magic, and relationship. It's being able to be attuned to where you're at, and also just being honest. Like, I've expressed that with you. Like, I am aroused. Like, like we just play, and then it just. I mean, I can think about even when we went to Italy and did our erotic retreat, and we were part of that. Like, I think we were just flowing so much in our own erotic energy that it naturally just it just flowed open. Like, it's not so much trying, it's just letting. And I think that's what the ego death, 𝗵𝗵𝗡 like, is here to remind us. I think that's one aspect of it, to like let the ego surrender so that your soul can be fully seen. And I think that's at the core. And I think about what we're creating at the core of like retreats and stuff. I'm like, at the core of it, behind the sex magic and those magical words, is you having the right as a soul to be fully seen in that wildness. Like, so much of society has been tamed in that. Like, so.
That's a very important point.
Yeah.
Ultimately, sex magic, any kind of magic, is about freedom. That's what it really is, right? Freedom from what society, culture, even reality dictates is allowed or is possible. I've always thought, if you look at magicians throughout history, they have been freedom fighters in a way.
Yeah.
They have been the freedom fighters, the rebels.
Yeah.
We're
totally that. And that's why I'm so grateful, because I feel like we've gone down the path so much of seeking our truth and like learning and growing and refining it individually before we even met each other. And we've learned so much together, and it's just like, like, sex is just as...
We had to be at a certain level individually, I think, before we were ready for each other.
Well, it's, and here's another thing, just to like bring it back to like simplicity. Like, sex magic can also be seen as like food magic. Like, everything's magical. You know what I mean? Like, breathing magic is just as serene and beautiful as sex magic. You know what I mean? Like, all of these like, life is magical if you allow it to be. And sex is just one aspect of it. And I just want to, land and express, like, you deserve to fully explore, rediscover, redefine what is sex magic for you. It's yours to reclaim. It's yours to
That's an important point.
On. Like, and don't let what other people's projections upon you, don't let what your parents, your church, whatever you are surrounding yourself with right now, like, don't let what other people's truth is impact what is your evolution. Like, this is the thing I've learned about being a rebel naturally. You will naturally outgrow people, places, things, situations. But at the end of the day, you are going to have yourself, you're going to have your soul. And along the way, you will meet people, as you stay authentically to yourself, people who are in alignment with your energy, right? The reason why you're probably here is because somewhere along in your energy field and your soul's evolution is because perhaps right now sex magic is on the forefront of your consciousness, because you're ready to evolve through sex magic. There's a reason, and we are a match. If you choose to lean in and rediscover it, like, that's why we're here. So it's like, don't let, people's limitations keep you in the box. Like,
and that's a very important point. It's also, it's magic is also very personal.
Yeah.
we have given you some suggestions, some starting points today.
Mm-hmm.
Do some exploring on your own. Find your magic, your method, your techniques, right? These tools are just starting points.
Yeah.
We hope we've piqued your curiosity, you guys. Join the mailing list. The link is in the description below.
Yeah.
And, tune in. We're here, Tantric Tuesdays, dropping new episodes on all sorts of topics like this, be it Tantra, sexuality, magic, decolonizing, living more freely, understanding your body better, all sorts of things. And reach out, please. We love to hear from you. We love your comments. We love your feedback. We love your suggestions. If there's a topic you want to see on a future episode, please reach out.
Yeah.
You can find me at Andre Night Awakening on Instagram, and you can find Kendall at the Tantric Mystic _ and you can also reach us at www.tantricawakening.net online. And we hope you found today's episode useful. Please don't forget to like and comment. We want to hear from you. And please, sharing is caring.
Yeah.
If you know somebody that would be interested in these topics, please share the episode, share the love, share the knowledge.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. It's been wonderful.
It has. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Beloved. I love co-creating with you.
Yeah, likewise.
We'll see you guys next time.
See you.
Bye for
Bye.
now.